What's up, everyone? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic, and to my left here, I assume, is Macho Man Jamie John Savage, or whatever the hell he is today. And once again, we have an album review for you, and one that was on my list because mostly morbid curiosity, because I went over the last one and it was interesting. And I heard a couple of singles and it was like, oh, this is bound to be more interesting. Anyway, we are going over the latest offering from Tallah, Primeval, Obsession/Detachment. This also comes out on the 5th of September on Earache Records. Believe it or not, that label still puts out metal albums. Anyway, this band formed in 2017 in Pennsylvania. This is their third full-length overall. I did a review of their last one, The Generation of Danger. It wasn't particularly that dangerous. I think I probably called it the bastard offspring of Glassjaw and Slipknot. It was wild, frantic, all over the fucking place. I guess you could say that this band is like one of the forerunners of the nu metal revival / nucore, where it's a combination of nu metal and metalcore. I know that's like the nadir of a lot of fucking metal fans, and in this case, I totally get it. Now, we actually went over a band not too long ago that was described as nucore or the nu metalcore, whatever the fuck I want to call it. Orthodox, and honestly, turned out to be a pretty solid listen. Yeah. It was vicious, it had solid riffs, good breakdowns, it kind of had that Iowa-like energy, but also still packed like a good like metalcore punch. This, however, not so much.
This is not that. Today is the first time I've heard this band. Consequently, today will be the last time I hear this band.
Now, this band gained some prominence, namely because one of their members, Max Portnoy, is the son of drum wizard Mike Portnoy, and for a while he was their drummer. Imagine that. Well, on this one he apparently switched over to bass, abandoning drums. They have a new drummer on here whose name I did not write down. Doesn't matter, you can look that one up on your own, but Max switched over to bass on this one, which I don't know how his dad feels about that, but I don't know. I'm kind of hoping his dad didn't listen to this album.
So I'm going to start off by saying good things about this band. The bass work on this record, it's decent. Max, I'm sure, is a decent drummer. I've not heard him drum, but I've heard his father drum circles around really every other drummer in the world. And, I mean, that's all I need. You know, percussion-wise, it falls in the same ballpark.
Yeah, no, he's doing a lot of, like, crazy stuff in here. Like, there's points in here I would compare his work to, like, Ryan Martin.
100%.
You know, like some interesting slap bass rhythms and such. And, you know, he does a solid job. But, all right, getting into the meat of this album. All right, basing what I heard off of the last one, again, like, this band is definitely locked in on this old school nu metal sound, but I don't know, kind of like spoon feeding it bath salts at the same time. This kind of takes everything that they did on the last album and exacerbates it to the point of annoyance.
To be quite honest with everybody here, this is a culmination of all the worst parts of nu metal. Like, every bit of nu metal that I can't stand, this is all of it smushed together in one of the most discombobulated, jagged, just kind of rough listens.
I was kind of hoping that this would congeal into something that was actually pretty listenable, but this album is so scattershot and so disjointed that, I mean, it's just hard to really center in on anything. Like, this album runs like a series of manic fits and breakdowns and rarely kind of like finds like, you know, good hooks or good melodies or like even just like fun riff. First off, I want to talk about the production. Production here was handled by Josh Schroeder. Now, I feel like he kind of had to like wrangle these guys together, but I think the band kind of won out on their idea of recording everything live. No click track, no separated instruments. They recorded everything all at once as a band live in the studio. And they wanted to kind of give it the live feel. And congratulations. It does sound like it was recorded live, but it also sounds like it's very loose, very off at times. The transitions in here are knee-jerk. They are jumping around from different nu metal trope to nu metal trope to just like bonkers transitions into like different stylistic territory and such. I mean, you have a cacophony of like samples, DJ scratching, and muddy guitars, and, you know, slap bass, and then like weird tribal patterns. And then you have a fucking lunatic behind the fucking mic just ranting and raving. he sounds like a fucking Muppet tweaker.
Dude, and let me tell you, there's no vocal magic in that studio either. He tries clean vocals a lot, and to be honest with you, the whole delivery of this guy, and even when he tries to sing, all of everything, he sounds like Jared from Head PE. But the redeeming factor, at least about Jared from Head PE, is that when he actually sang or attempted to sing or whatever, he could pull it off. Like in the album Broke, most notably the song Pock Bell, when he does that kind of quivering thing with his voice, like it works. I always thought it worked. I always thought Jared, at least on that record, to me, I thought was pretty decent. But this guy in this record, motherfucker, you cannot sing, brother. It's off key. It's more of like a focus on the things he can do with his voice, like little bits of like pitch or vibrato, or like, again, that kind of like wailing, warbling type of thing. There's more focus to that, but dude, no.
I feel like a lot of this was maybe more about like making an artistic statement rather than making something like cohesive, because like this album is all over the place. Like, you know, when you brought up Head PE, like this is like Head PE covering, you know, Slipknot's Iowa, but also at the same time trying to audition for like Mr. Bungle. It's all over the place. The songs frequently kind of like, you know, just bounce around to, you know, kind of just all over the place. Like there's a lot of like non-repeating parts in songs. Like As Fate Undoes, just a cacophony of like muffled drums. You get like some classic nu metal bounces, some like almost like Power Man 5000 sort of like stomps.
Power Man 500.
Yeah, like we'll just knock a zero off there because no, it's not good. There's some cleaner vocals on there that again are just like warbled and twisted. And again, like there's just so much noise going on in the background. That song kind of sounds like, you know, what happens if you feed like Static X after fucking midnight.
I would call this more of Head PE mixed with Slipknot's demos from the first record, like Interloper and Despised. Like it's got that kind of vibe to it. It's definitely got that kind of tone to it. And then mix that in with the drum work found down Incubus's Science. And that's the whole thing, but way more jagged, kind of like Car Bomb's jagged transitions. But in this case, I like Car Bomb. Car Bomb's a good band. This would be more like Vespa Bomb.
Yeah, this album is like walking into a hoarder's house and just going, oh my god, there's so much fucking stuff in here. Like it's just wall-to-wall madness. And you know, I like bands that are experimental and twisted and all that shit. And like, you know, this doesn't like fall into like the avant-garde territory. This feels like there's no focus. Like, you know, it has a uniformly strange sound throughout the album, but every song is disjointed in terms of like its transitions. They feel like they have either no identity or they are like cultivating multiple identities. And the attempts at melody on here, again, I feel like are shot down by the fact that, you know, the vocalist, Justin, wants to make an artistic statement every time. And the artistic statement is, I need meds or something like that. I don't know. It's constantly this quivering, jittery, you know, frantic sort of delivery, and it misses so often when it comes down to points where there could be like a good hook. Another issue here is I feel like the guitars are just so muddy and buried that a lot of the time the riffs become indistinct, especially when you throw on like all the DJ noise and the vocals on top of that. You know, the drums are particularly loud too, but don't necessarily mind them. I just wish, you know, you could hear more of the riffs. Like you can hear them when they hit like the breakdown points, like Augmented, What We Want, a Primeval, Detachment. You know, there's some like really good mathcore moments on there, like stuff where they attempted to like, you know, emulate Botch or like Dillinger Escape Plan for a second before moving on to the next shiny jingly keys that they heard.
But it didn't even save it. Like there is one time, What We Want, I think, has the best probably breakdown. I would say it's almost closer to slam territory. There's even a spot where there's obviously not a blast beat, but there's even a spot where the drums pick up a little bit. And like for that moment in time, that very brief moment where they actually held on to something, that was decent. But that song's 10 songs in. And this record's 42 minutes long. And mostly it's just like an influencer soup, except the soup is boiled ham water. They don't hold on to really anything long enough for you to get a grasp on it. And when they do, it changes to the weirdest shit. Like As Fate Undoes. The very last thing that they transition to sounds straight up like the goddamn Beatles.
Yeah, it sounds like Eleanor Rigby for a second. I'm like, wait, what? I mean, there's other moments on here where, again, like, it'll just transition to, like, some funk-laden part into, like, this heavy syncopated breakdown. And then, you know, the DJ's just off kind of doing whatever the hell they're doing. Like, you know, the soundscapes and atmosphere in here, like, it's unnerving. It's just, like, nervous, unfocused energy throughout this entire album. And, again, I like that in moments, in doses. Like, you know, something to add, like, a little bit of anxiety to the listen. But this whole thing is fucking anxiety. This album feels like someone slam dunked a hornet's nest in my fucking face. And it's just, you know, hitting me from every fucking possible angle. And, you know, it just doesn't make a tremendous amount of musical sense at points.
It's like going to karaoke and you're sitting there in the crowd and you're like, oh man, that person should not be up there singing, right? And then as like the drinks start to hit, you're like, all right, this isn't so bad, right? This would be like going to karaoke and trying to get drunk and failing and just sitting there and being like, God damn it, I want to go home.
See, I'd wish for like the fun karaoke night where like a 90-year-old woman goes up and starts doing like Bloodhound Gang or something like that.
And that would be sick. And
that would be
I would
awesome.
Totally fucking pay to see that. But that's not what happened here.
No. This was like a legit chore to get through at points. Like, again, like nothing on here really gelled. And when it felt like it was going to gel, it would find some way to go off the rails. Like the song Lacuna. Lacuna, I thought, had some interesting, you know, like transitions. Like there were some really cool acoustic parts, a solid melody that then Justin came in and did his vocals and kind of ruined. The song has like kind of an interesting build to it. There's like a fun off-time drum pattern to it, which the drum pattern between the whole Primeval tracks and Lacuna, it carries on throughout the entire 3-song run, which it was kind of a cool way to link the songs together. Otherwise, you know, like none of the songs sound like they're linked by anything other than past trauma.
Past trauma and fruit stripe gum.
Yeah. I mean, well, the flavor went out really quick on this one. But the song felt like it was kind of going somewhere. You know, the atmosphere started picking up. And in this case, like, the atmosphere kind of worked, except for that weird, like, kind of buzzing sample that sounded like a speak and spell with dying batteries. It was almost kind of like System of a Down-ish, which I'm reasonably sure is in this band's playlist. But, again, like, Justin's weird vocals. You know, again, there are points where if he reined it in, because there are definitely moments where he carries a tune in here. It's just that he doesn't seem to like to. It's like, no, I want to wander off the reservation and go scream at, you know, random people in the street and maybe a tree and get arrested.
One thing I will give the man credit for, I was just thinking about this, it's not a total shit fest. One thing I will give the man credit for is not using auto-tune.
Yeah.
He could have cheated and made it sound really good, and then you would have gone to see him live and you'd have been like, dude, what the fuck? But like in this case, it was very like open and honest. Obviously, you'll figure it out when you listen to it. Like, I guess so props to you for having the balls to get up there and do that.
And you know, there's points where they kind of carry a tune, like, you know, Depleted. It's probably the only song on here that has like kind of a big chorus where like, all right, melody is kind of like the big thing here, but even then, you know, he kind of wanders off a little bit. And, you know, the song again is just weirdly disjointed with noises and transitions that don't make sense. Like that one definitely has some bungle energy, but it doesn't have like, you know, the bungle charm. I don't know. Like I don't get this album, and I will say the last one was way more listenable than this. This one, I feel like everything on here was done to make like some sort of artistic statement, to make it sound as like, you know, twisted and caustic. Like they all fucking wrote this on like high fevers and shit like that, and we're having like hallucinations in the studio. Like there are points in here where it sounds like, you know, they're drunkenly stumbling around all the fucking instruments in there and knocking shit over. I don't know what's going on in there. Even in the moments of like, you know, atmospheric reflection, which are the intro and outro, which the intro is called 5:01, like 5 minutes and 1 second. Guess what? Lied to us immediately. It's only a minute. And the last track, 7:09, as in 7 minutes, 9 seconds, also liar. But both of those do bookend the album with, you know, some really interesting, clean singing. Like, I think they're female vocals. It could be Justin's. I don't know. That dude's just...
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know what's happening.
Dude's got feral vocal cords, but it could have been him. But honestly, it sounded like an isolated take from like the whole clean singing part on Smack My Bitch Up by the Prodigy. I love that song.
Then you get some tribal chanting like the voodoo guy in Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, dude, the last part of that song sounded like one of like Donkey Kong's fucking, night terrors where all of his fucking bananas are getting stolen by whatever those creatures are. But yeah, as you might have guessed, we were not a fan of this. And honestly, I wanted to give this band a chance because, I thought the last one showed some promise, and there's probably a way to do this. I mean, again, we really like that Orthodox album. I thought that was a solid jam.
Yeah.
But this is just fucking bonkers. And not in like a cool way where it reins itself in musically. This is just kind of a fucking mess. Like, this is like 42 minutes of like stitched together riffs and breakdowns and song ideas and people drunkenly stumbling inside of a studio knocking over shit. Even though I do think there are some like cool individual performances and occasionally they do latch on to like a solid breakdown here or there, but for the most part, man, this is totally not for me. And even growing up like in the new metal fucking years and shit, oh man, dude, like this is a band I probably would struggle getting into even back then.
Yeah.
So overall, I'm gonna give this 1 star, and you barely fucking earned it, I'll be honest. There are some cool performances on here. Vocally, this needs to be like reined in a bit. Like, I get like the whole idea of creating like all the atmosphere and tension and nervous energy with all these frantic vocals everywhere. But it becomes like just a cacophony of just nuts. Like, it's just insanity, and it doesn't carry much of a tune, and honestly, it becomes just fucking grating as hell at a point. Production-wise, I feel like this was also kind of a mess. Like, yeah, I like the idea of, like, recording live. Like, honestly, that's, like, kind of a good fuck you to, like, all the fucking producers out there. There's like, oh, no, we'll just auto-tune, Pro Tool, everything, so it sounds butthole tight and, gives people that go to see you an unrealistic standard of how fucking perfect you are. That, is kind of respectable, but, overall, man, it sounds like pots and pans colliding and fucking grunts and squeaks and all sorts of like weird atmospheric stuff, and a DJ he's just there. They're just there. They're just doing stuff. I don't know, like none of this really fits together, and it's all the frantic energy in the world, but with very little in the way of direction. I wish I had nicer things to say because I think this sort of like retroactive thing can be done well. We've heard it done well.
Correct. But
this is just a fucking mess. Like, this is just like, letting dogs off the leash that should not be off the fucking leash. Like, they're just gonna fucking chew up shit and shit everywhere.
You're gonna bite a child.
Yep. And all the things that we knew were gonna happen happened there. Who knows? They might right the ship. And again, if you love this sort of thing, if you want an absolutely unhinged like new metal worshipping album, check this out. It's about as nuts as it gets. Just wasn't for me. Go for it.
It's also 1 star for me. The star's about to burn out too. Like, it's on its last leg. New metal was what, back in like, let's say 96 to roughly like 2000, 2001, somewhere in there, right? Okay, so you got 5 years of new metal. Now let's talk about new metal. New metal didn't really have a big like wide swath of things that it did to make itself stand out. There were just a plethora of new metal bands, and you're like, all right, whatever. 16-year-old me, I probably would have been okay with this record because I liked the first Head PE record. But look, man, there's not a whole lot going on here, and what is going on, it's just fucking style vomit. That's it. Just, oh, let's put, a bunch of shit in this corner, and all these things together. Like, oh, look, you had peas at one point. I give you credit for trying. I do, because there are a lot of moments, like, vocally that are, like, they're definitely unhinged, reminding me, like, a lot of, like, Dillinger Escape Plan, or, again, Mr. Bungle, or just some really unhinged shit, and, like, that's cool. But, man, the clean vocals, while I give you props for not using auto-tune, maybe don't put them on a record. I'm going to be totally honest with you. It was so bad, it was so off-key that really, I looked over at Nick and I was like, dude, can we please just skip this song? I thought it was unhinged, disjointed, jagged. A lot of the transitions didn't make sense. But if you like stuff like this and you like all the worst parts of nu metal all together in one 42-minute record, check this out for yourself.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships. They're only 99 cents. Lone Perk is doing a members-only live stream, which, who knows, by now you might have already seen us do one of those. And then hopefully the next one is on the horizon for some later date. Either way,
we'll get there.
Membership's the main way to support the channel, and there's a join button down there. And I can guarantee you that the sound of that join button clicking or whatever noise it makes is infinitely better than most of the sounds that I heard on this album.
Anyway, even if you don't hit that membership button, it's totally cool because we do tons of other metal content really all the time. Non-members only live streams, which I guarantee are just as dumb, if not dumber, than the actual members only live streams. We do discography rankings. At the Gates is coming. By the time you're viewing this, it's realistic to think that we'll actually be in the editing process of that video. So you're finally going to get that. Tons of other segments, Nick's collection updates, all metal all the time is what we do for you guys because we appreciate you. Again, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this channel. We absolutely love you guys. We couldn't do this without you. Thank you for helping to make this channel into far more than two dickheads in a basement talking about shit. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys absolutely rule. Tons of content coming your way. So one more big thank you because you guys are awesome, and we will catch you later.